see it? I don't know.
I don't know.
Suit here situation.
I don't think so. I don't think so. We're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna get into the superstitions. But certainly, it was a great victory, and excited for the guys for sure.
Did the guys have anything to say about your wardrobe choice that day? Did they hype you up?
They always look at my shoes, right? When I walk in to talk to the team before the game, they always are checking it out. And they check one another out all the time. If a guy gets a new pair of shoes, it's kind of a thing. So I'm sure it goes on in most locker rooms.
Is this group good at turning a page positively or negatively?
Yeah, I think they are very mature, right? And I think they hold one another accountable. They hold themselves accountable. And I think they certainly understand that the goal is not to play perfectly, both individually and collectively, but to play together. And I think what you saw in that game was, our guys being committed, to doing it together. And, sometimes when it's not going well, you can have a tendency to, get individual. And I think in that game, they were committed to, hey, we're going to do this thing, together, and let the chips fall where they may, at the end of the game.
But when you say to get individual, they want to.
They're trying to win.
Well,
yeah. It's not from a place of selfishness. It's from a place of I want to help the team, right? And certainly there are plays to be made on an individual basis. Guy makes a really hard shot at the end of the clock, and has to make a play for our team. The key for us is just being really well balanced and trying to get quality looks each time down, and then being committed on the defensive end to being unselfish as well and making multiple efforts for our team. And not something that we did enough in the St. Louis game, and that's why we ended up losing that game. And you have to be on it at all times in this conference, and every game provides a big challenge.
What have you seen out of this year's LaSalle team?
Yeah, this is the first time in February that they've been, since 2017, that they've been over 500. And so there's tremendous optimism, right now there at LaSalle. They have a dynamite young guard, he's the best young guard in the league right now. I haven't obviously seen every team at this point in terms of, from a scouting perspective, but Jones is excellent. He's a really, really good player. And, McKeithen's excellent, at the guard position as well. Good transfer for them. They have high major size, across the front line. Two bigs that one started at UCLA in his career, and then DePaul, and now he's at LaSalle. Good player, one of the best offensive rebounders we've seen. And the backup, was at Penn State, Power 5, level player. And so, they do have an excellent front line. Fasasi's back, from last year and was a dynamite, freshman last year. Shepard's back, who's a dynamite athlete and played a lot of minutes for him last year. So they have a good team, and they certainly have a world-class coach. And so we understand that it's going to be, really competitive. They're coming off a big win, at home against GW. And they've been pretty good on the road. They won at St. Bonaventure, and they're on that last second shot, and so they've gone into some hostile environments and played well. And we're going to have to play a really clean game to win.
Luke had a dunk probably the first 3 or 4 minutes of Saturday's game.
Yeah, that was great.
Two-handed dunk. What have you seen from his strength development over the season?
Yeah, I think it's hard to make major gains in the middle of the season, right? And I think some of that is natural. It's like him getting more comfortable out on the court, right? Now he's caught the ball more. He's moving with the ball better. He's able to pivot better. I think it's more skills than it is necessarily strength right now. The strength comes this summer, right? With Coach Roos, when we really can attack it. And he did a great job, in the fall and summer this past year. leading into the season. All right, but there's another level, right? And Martin's getting it, every single day here with Coach Roos and really making tremendous strides. That's the benefit of having a redshirt year. But I'm really pleased with the development that Luke is and the progress that he's showing overall.
And Fat's got a big ovation as he came to the game on Saturday, like he always does. How cool is it for him and for Brandon and for Joe, guys around this area to play in that rivalry?
They got a chance, and they had been in the last couple of games, right? And so it was great to see them, get out there and have success and be ready to play. Because sometimes you're sitting over there for long stretches and you don't get in there, you don't get a feel for the game, you haven't touched the ball since warm-ups, and it's just not easy to hop in there, and get things done. And I wanted to put Fats in there early enough where he was still playing with the starters, to give him a chance, because he had that chance at St. Joe's, and it wasn't his fault. They went on a 10-0 run. Definitely was not his fault. But I wanted to get him some reps out there with some of the starters. And, I thought overall, as the game wore on, Fats started making some really good plays, on offense. And, that was really, good to see. Terrence, fit right in. Obi, obviously, at the end, made some really nice plays. Michael Bell, the confidence level was high. And he had a really impactful game for us. And then Brandon obviously went back in at the end with those guys as well. They play together every day, in practice. And so it was good to see them perform really well down the stretch of that game and continue to be competitive, which was great.
Early in the second half, Richmond went on about maybe a 6-0 or an 8-0 run, their best run of the game, and then you immediately answered with a run of your own. How have you kept the guys in a situation like that? They could easily, they're up 30 points at half, put their heads down, but how do you keep them going?
Yeah, you can't get bored with winning, right? And our guys have played really well, to that point, and what a shame it would have been, to not, finish, the job in the appropriate way. The final result is a collection of plays, right? And the overall collection of plays that happen over the course of the game. And you want to try to win as many of those plays as you can. And, you don't want to develop, habits that can negatively impact, the next game, that you have. And by no means did we think that the game was over. Just like we got up that much, they could have easily flipped it. And maybe not easily, but they could have flipped it. And, all of a sudden, we're in the same situation they were in. And so, you always have to be on edge. And, competing at a high level, on every play, regardless of what the score is. You can't play the score. Now, there's things that happen, at the end of the game. Obviously, we stopped pressing and stuff like that, later in that second half. But, I thought our guys, did a nice job of kind of waking up. We made a couple of errors there at the beginning of the second half and of coverage things, and they made us pay, and that's what happens. When you don't do it correctly and you're not intentional about it, and you relax, those types of things will happen, and we want them to score on our terms rather than their terms, doing what they do really well. We have to try to take away things. And in that instance, in that little section of the game, to start the second half, we didn't do a great job. And I think the guys, after the timeout, refocused and began to play better.
Almost every night this year, there's some sort of eyebrow-raising result on the A10 scoreboard. Does that make it a different kind of challenge to get ready night in and night out for you guys and your staff, just because some teams have been so up and down already this year?
Yeah, it's been an interesting season. I think it's been a well-balanced season if you think about it. You can look at the standings and see, that, I think we have, 5 and 4 teams and then 4 and 5 teams. There's a ton of them, right? And so a lot of ball is left to be played, and a lot of things to be figured out, from a standings perspective, even at the top. And so, I think you just have to be ready. You have to be focused on every single game and approach every game as it's a mini little championship, because ultimately it is, right? It depends on, it's going to help determine where you're going to finish. And so, for us, if you want to finish at the top, well, you have to be competitive in every single game, because that's what it's going to take. And it doesn't mean you have to win every game, all right? But certainly, that's the goal.
If I could ask one question about Friday, the environment that you guys go into every time out there, I'm guessing you guys have to, will you show them all the good Dayton film this year because of how well they can play? Speaking of up and down seasons, they're back and forth.
I think they're playing well right now. I think their last game, I watched that game, and it was very well played. Certainly they have a great coach in Coach Grant and Santos, really good guards. The freshman big has really begun to impact the team in a positive way, and certainly Zed Key coming back, or Posh Alexander coming back, really helps them, gives them more depth. But anytime you go to their home, it's going to be a tall task, to come out of there with a win. And they've had some great wins over the season. I know they've had some losses probably that they would like to have back, but I feel like they're playing really good basketball right now.
Anything else, good? All right.
One last thing, congrats to Coach O'Boyle, Meredith, Mallory, our newest Ram. We're really excited that she's joining our family, and really pleased, for them. It's a special day anytime you welcome a new child like that. I've been fortunate enough to, obviously we've got two boys, and it's really, really special, and so we're excited for them.
Can Mrs. Odom give her a little
Yeah,
newborn advice?
try to give some tips or whatever we can do to help out. We certainly will, and she's got plenty of older sisters on the team, right? That'll look after her, plenty of babysitters, and eventually that will be able to help out too, which is really cool. So we're just we're thrilled for them.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Name one player on your team you would not let watch your boys.
Oh man, one player I would not. Man, you're making me call them out. I really can't. I really couldn't tell you that, because
Who's the one you would most trust?
Yeah,
most
okay.
trust. Probably Zeb. I think Zeb's probably the guy you would most trust. Max is the closest to him naturally. He's at my house all the time with those two. But I would say Zeb, certainly is the guy that you would trust to watch after him. But Firm would have the most fun with them, but there's no telling what they would get into. Joe would tutor them in something in life. I don't know.
You let Joe watch.
Who knows what Phil would do? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Phil would do.
You let Joe watch him, and they're going to come back with some very different questions.
Yeah. No question.